Today is January 24th, 2022. This is Mordecai, host of the updates, bringing you your daily Elden Ring update. There is great news about Elden Ring today, because at today's Taipei Game Show event, From Software's Yasuhiro Kitao confirmed that the game will be ready for sale on February 25th, as the master copy has already been submitted, which means the game has gone gold. And they're currently working on a day one patch to make sure everything is alright. Hearing that there will be no more delays is the best news to come out of the event, but it still had some other fruitful stuff, such as 5 minutes of new gameplay, which I posted earlier that was restricted mainly to Limgrave stuff, along with new soundtracks playing in the background, and we also got a new version of this old screenshot, which was pretty nice. Mainly though, Kitao answered some questions from fans where we learned some new things, so let's go over it. When asked about builds in Elden Ring, Kitao said that the character classes aren't as fixed, so picking one class doesn't mean you have to stick with a certain build, and that in the game there are many viable builds, like a bow build, melee, magic, etc. Kitao said that he himself prefers straight sword builds, as he likes to keep it simple. He also went with a saw cleaver in Bloodborne, which I can't blame him as it's the best weapon in the game. Anyway, he confirmed that the game will have a lot of replayability and that you can enter New Game Plus and play the game again with enemies having larger health pools. However, he said that it's not possible to 100% the game in one single playthrough, because there are branching paths near the end of the game. And I believe he means that due to the game having different endings and each ending having its own trophy, you need to play through the game multiple times to experience the other endings, just like how it works for pretty much all their previous games. Then, Kitao was asked if there's any changes that come with the dynamic weather and time of day, to which he responded by saying that enemy placements will not change significantly. This was apparently a conscious design choice due to the fact that changing enemies for all times of day would create pressure for players to play the game at various different times just so they can fight every enemy. So, they felt it was a stress players could do without. However, he then added that there are still a small number of enemies that only appear at night, one of whom we fought in the network test on a bridge, as it was a mounted rider that only spawned in at night and was harder than the daytime counterpart. When asked if players are able to move freely across the entire map from the start of the game, Kitao first answered this by confirming that Limgrave will be the starting region of the game, which is the area from the network test. He then said that not all areas will be immediately accessible from the start. However, it's still possible to travel to a number of different regions. For example, you can apparently skip not only Margit, but the entirety of Stormvale Castle, and move on to whatever is beyond it. Since some of the areas are designed to be explored later in the game though, players who go there prematurely may find it difficult, and will come crawling back to the beginning area and do those first. Though he said you could still venture off the recommended path if you so dare. Later in the Q&A, Kitao was asked if there are a lot of cutscenes in Elden Ring, and he said that there's a lot of dialogue and conversations that happen with NPCs. For example, there's an area in the game known as the Round Table Hold, where several NPCs gather and can be talked to. This is the same area Var talks to us about in the network test, saying that we will receive a summons to go there.
You may receive a summons to the famed Round Table Hold.
Essentially, you will learn a lot about the story of Elden Ring through these NPCs and characters that you meet. So, Kitao says that if you're expecting cutscenes and dialogues to the same level of Sekiro, you should be satisfied. Later on, Kitao also confirmed that the DualSense controller will support haptic feedback for Elden Ring on the PS5 version of the game. This is something he said they were working on back in August, and it's nice to see the feature works now. However, the game won't be compatible with 3D audio on the PlayStation 5. Once again, they were asked how many hours it takes to beat the game, and Kitao said that the main route should take you around 30 hours, which is exactly what Miyazaki said months ago, so I guess they're still sticking with that number. Then, Kitao was asked if there's any differences in Limgrave between the final version of the game and the network test. And he said that firstly, some item descriptions were not yet finalized in the network test, so expect those to change. Some enemy placements have also changed compared to the final game, and arguably the biggest difference is that a lot of NPCs were missing in the network test that will otherwise be there in the release version of the game. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. The rest of the things he went over is old information that we already know. I've left a link in the description to the full presentation with English subtitles so you can watch it for yourself if you desire. But yeah, I'm just glad to hear that the game's gone gold and that we'll basically be playing it in a month's time. So for now, this has been your daily Elden Ring update for January 24th, 2022.
エルデンリングは我々にとっても結構新しいさまざまなチャレンジをしたゲームなんですけども、そのプレイする、価値のあるゲームになったかなと思っておりますので、ぜひご期待いただければなと。で、そうですね、ぜひ楽しんでいただければと思ってます。